So a junior ISA is a tax-efficient saving or investment account. So as the name suggests, it's effectively an ISA for people who are under the age of 18. Now, to open one, you have to be a registered contact, which basically means you have to be a parent or a legal guardian of a child. Then once you've opened the junior ISA, other people can pay into it. So a grandparent, for example, could pay into the junior ISA for their grandchild, but they can't open it. And the money within that junior ISA could be held within cash, so a cash junior ISA, or you could invest it for the long term. So you could buy things like shares or funds, just like you can with a normal stocks and shares ISA that an adult will have. Now, one thing to point out, that children technically can open junior ISAs once they attain the age of 16 or 17 without their parents' input. So that is possible if they don't already have one. Now, of course, there are contribution limits. You can save up to £9,000 per tax year per child, and this is crucially separate from an adult ISA allowance of £20,000. So if you're an adult using your ISA allowance each tax year, you can still pay into a junior ISA as well. Now, the money is legally owned by the child throughout, even if they can't access it until they're aged 18, at which point it will transfer to a normal ISA, so an adult ISA. Now, they can do what they want with that. They can put it in cash, they can put it in stocks and shares, they can withdraw the money. There is an exception at which the money can be withdrawn before the child reaches 18, and that's if they die or if they are terminally ill. And just like an adult ISA, any interest earned or investment growth within the account is completely free from UK income tax and capital gains tax. We will put a link in the notes of this show to an article that explains about junior ISAs in more detail, but also compares the different junior ISAs out there. So cash junior ISAs, but also stocks and shares junior ISAs. But with all the explanation out of the way, what's really interesting is how you could start investing small amounts of money over time, which could compound into very large sums over a child's lifetime, particularly if they then took on the baton when they got to age 18 and the junior ISA moved into a full adult ISA and they contributed to that ISA and invested that money as well, and you could end up making them a millionaire. But more importantly, the Millionaire Strategy, which we talked about on the past podcasts, and you can read in full on the page that we link to in the show notes, which explains the whole strategy. The key part is if you increase the contributions by a set amount each year, so a set percentage. For example, I increase the contributions to my children's junior ISAs by 7% every year, then that increases that compounding effect, and it means the money grows in excess of inflation. And then when you do that, you will build some significant pots, and you could potentially make your child a millionaire by starting off with relatively small contribution amounts. So to give you an example, if you initially invested £56 a month from age 5 for a child with a 5% increase each year on the contribution amount, and if you assume that the child takes on the baton at age 18, continues the contributions each month and increases them each year by that 5% amount, then by the time they get to age 65, assuming they've got an 8% average annual return, they would have £2.2 million, which is worth £680,000 in today's money. One of the drawbacks of this strategy is that when a child gets to age 18, they could just take the money and run. And there are people out there who may be concerned about that. I mean, you could use a junior SIP, so the child, even when they got to age 18, couldn't access the funds. It'd have to be in a pension until they reach 57, but that will increase over time. That's the age at which you can access your private pension. But the research that's just been published suggests that the most likely outcome is the child isn't going to completely encash the junior ISA once they get to age 18. So the research from AJ Bell effectively has debunked the myth that 18-year-olds go on a spending spree once their junior ISA matures. So they looked at customer data for the calendar years 2023, 2024 and 2025, and only 6.5% of junior ISA holders emptied their entire pot within the first year of gaining control of the money. And interestingly, approximately 1/3, so 33.1%, actually did the opposite, and they continued to contribute their own money to their adult ISA after the junior ISA account matured. The data also showed some measured withdrawals, so fewer than 1 in 10, so 8.9% of accounts, they withdrew more than half of their savings within that first year. But do bear in mind that when you get to age 18, there may be good reason why they did withdraw the money. They may have used it for maybe buying a car, maybe it was used to go to university. So they don't give you the reasons why the money was withdrawn because they don't technically know. So do bear that in mind. Just because the money was withdrawn, it doesn't mean that the young adult went on a massive spending spree at age 18. There could be good reason as well. So that research made me feel really positive about the idea of trying to make your child a millionaire and putting money in a junior ISA. So the product does seemingly work. And it may be that there's people who put money in a junior ISA for their child also engage with them about investing, engage with them about money and the responsibility as well. So it could be a slightly skewed stat in that way as well, because the people who have engaged with putting money in a junior ISA may be the people who might be more likely to teach their children about money. But it is a positive nonetheless. And one of the things that Andy and I were talking about is that age 16 is an important age when it comes to junior ISAs, because at that point, a child could be made the registered contact on the junior ISA, which effectively means they can start managing the junior ISA for themselves. And by doing so, they are learning crucial skills when it comes to running money and managing investments. And when they get to age 18 with those skills, they are hopefully more likely to take that junior ISA when it matures into a fully fledged adult ISA and then carry on investing into the future.
Yeah, and just a quick point on that, Damien. I know some parents might not be at that point yet where they want their child to become the registered contact, and there are some providers that don't currently allow it. But the fact remains, you could still engage with your child from, say, the age of 16 to show them the ropes, let them understand how a junior ISA works, how investing and saving works and compounding, so they get that little bit of experience before it transfers over to the adult ISA.
Now, this is particularly relevant to you and I, Andy, because both of our daughters have junior ISAs and they've just turned 16. So I am going to make her the registered contact on the junior ISA and try and engage with her about what's going on with the junior ISA and let her manage it herself, because I hope that when she gets to age 18, then she can make a decision about what she wants to do with it. And she may look to add money to it and continue that ISA millionaire idea and grow that pot of money, contribute to it for her future. Now, I mentioned about engaging with my daughter when it comes to managing the junior stocks and shares ISA, because when I make her the registered contact, she has full control and I lose control of that. So I can't make changes or anything. It's gone. I can contribute, but I can't control it anymore. But I want her to learn about investing. So at the point that she gets to age 18, then hopefully she's fully engaged with the idea of investing. So when we talk about making a child a millionaire, it is built upon the concept of the contributions increasing into the future and the child taking on the baton once they reach age 18, because they've learned all about investing and the power of compounding and they're really enthused and they want to keep going. But what if they don't? Now, if you had £10,000 in a junior ISA at age 18 and the child said, look, I'm not going to withdraw the money, I'm going to just leave it because I don't want to contribute any more money to it. If they just left the money in there and it was compounding at a rate of return that has been a historical rate of return for the S&P 500, which is close to 10% per annum, there's no guarantee you'll get that. But if it did just sit there and compound over time from the age 18 to the age of 48, so basically my age now, so that's 30 years. That £10,000 would have grown to £198,374. Let's just round it up and call it £200,000, which is insane. And that's the equivalent of £109,517. Let's just call that £110,000 in today's money, taking into account inflation. Alternatively, if they just left the £10,000 in a stocks and shares ISA and it was invested maybe in an S&P 500 tracker and it did get that historical return of roughly 9 to 10% per annum, there's no guarantee, then at age 58, the money would have grown to £537,000, which is equivalent to £243,000 in today's money, taking into account inflation. So even if a child doesn't engage with the junior ISA when it becomes a normal adult ISA at age 18, the power of compounding can just take that money and keep it growing because you've done the hard work. And so you might be listening to that and thinking, well, if my child could have £10,000 at age 18, that would be great because then they're pretty much set up for life. And that money, don't forget, is in a tax-free environment. So they won't get taxed on any income, capital gains, or any money they withdraw. Now, if you have a child, for example, that's just been born and you contributed £25 per month into a junior ISA based upon historic returns and took an adventurous approach, then £10,000 at age 18 is achievable. Now, we'll put links to calculators in the notes of this show so you can play around with them to see how big a pot of money can grow to. But the point of this part of the podcast was really a positive piece reiterating why it's a good idea to try and give your children a head start in life if you can, and how a junior ISA is a viable product to use, and the positive outcomes that have occurred in recent years when children have reached the age of 18 and they've got a junior ISA that's matured into an adult ISA. But not only that, by looking at those numbers that I've just calculated, that even if your child doesn't decide to contribute to the ISA once they get to adulthood, but just leaving that money, that pot of money that you've given them, that head start, and they let that compound off into the future, what an impact it could have on their life when they get to age 40 or 50. And of course, you could use a junior SIP, as I mentioned earlier on in the podcast. So again, if you want to know more, we'll put a link to all of the different resources, particularly how to make your child a millionaire page on the Manchester Masses website.
Yeah, I think it's a really feel-good story, like you say, Damien. It made me feel better about my own junior ISA journey with my children. Hopefully, they'll make the right decisions. And I think a good point to make as well is even if you can't find the money to put away into a junior ISA right now, getting one opened as a guardian is a good idea because don't forget, anyone can contribute to a junior ISA. So you may well have parents or even grandparents who are quite keen and happy to give money to the grandchildren, knowing that it's going to a good place and it's investing in their future. So do consider doing that. And just quickly, finally, if you have a child that was born between 2002 and 2011, the government was giving out money then into what was then child trust funds. So you may well not be aware of that, or you may have forgotten about it. There are ways that you can find that child trust fund and you can actually put that into a junior ISA, or if your child is over the age of 18, that money is theirs. We'll put details in the show notes as to how you can trace that. We've actually done a previous podcast on that as well, which I'll link to in the show notes.